The first bit of a video is the most important in getting people to keep watching it, so I'm going to make a bunch of jokes about putting Finn's name in things to make you stay. Statistically, you have to find at least one of them funny. Dorsal Fin, Finland, Finn Wolfhard, Finland Saga, Finnish Line, Finish Him, Dolphin, Finnal Fantasy.
This will go on forever if you let it.
You ever look at a character in fiction and go, Jesus Christ, give this person a hug and a glass of chocolate milk? Like, you don't even have to like the character in question. It's just what they go through is so bad, you want to tell them that everything's gonna be okay and they can rest easy. One of Fire Emblem's biggest examples of this is Finn, the Knight of Leoncer from FE4 and one of the fan favorites from Fire Emblem 4. He doesn't have any holy blood. He honestly doesn't even have that much story relevance, but what he does have is a gripping story about sacrifice and retribution. So without further ado, let's dive into Finn, who might just be the knightest knight to ever knight in Fire Emblem history. Finn shows up on the very first map of Genealogy of the Holy War, riding to Sigurd's aid alongside his lords, Quan and Ethelyn of House Leonster. Now, as a unit, it was awfully nice of Fire Emblem to invent the now well-known weapon triangle and then make Finn a lance-locked unit where the first two maps of the game are 95% axe units. Jokes aside, Finn's not bad at all. His damage output is pretty good, and though his beginning is rough, his growths make him able to hold his own sooner rather than later. Plus, once he gets his Brave Lance, Finn will be capable of killing most things on his own during his time in Gen 1. He's not quite Sigurd or Lewin, but he's more than capable. So a lot of players have used him, and a lot of players have liked using him. Character-wise, Finn's Gen 1 characterization is limited, but not non-existent. His loyalty and faith in Quan is very clear, as is typical for knight characters. However, Finn is also shown to have some level of self-doubt, as he feels Quan has too much faith in him, and as a lowly page, he can't possibly live up to those expectations. Quan repeatedly assures him, giving him both some personal training and a gift in the Brave Lance, something Finn is very clearly honored to have been gifted by his lord. Finn's lack of self-confidence is simple, but it gets the job done. His scenes also serve to help portray Quan's kindness, so they work for the character of both men. Another nice tidbit is his departure at the end of Chapter 3. He normally just leaves with Quan and Ethelyn, but if they've been defeated and he leaves on his own, he still wishes Sigurd luck and hopes for his plight. It's small, but it's nice to know Finn served Sigurd for more than just loyalty to Quan. Finn thought for himself and also believed in Sigurd's morals, which is nice. Speaking of his departure, I want to bring up a funny occurrence that can happen with him and his potential marriage to either Brigid or Teal'c. Since Finn leaves automatically at the end of Chapter 3, and they join on Chapter 3, Finn has absurdly high base love points with both of those women. But it's almost too high. If you trigger their spawn by killing the first boss of Chapter 3 too quickly, it is possible for their passive love growths to cause them to become lovers with Finn despite any plans you might have had for them. This means Finn could potentially marry Brigid or Teal'c, impregnate them twice, and then vanish, all without ever having been on the same landmass as them, which is one of the most powerful things an FE character has ever done. It's actually way easier to do this than you would think. I've done it before accidentally playing FE4 myself, and it's super funny every time it happens. God bless this stupid masterpiece of a game. Unfortunately, his departure in Chapter 3 means he isn't around for Chapter 5, which means he misses out on having lover conversations with anyone. For most of Gen 1's cast, the lover conversations at the end of the generation are the main source of their characterization, and Finn isn't able to have that with anyone. In exchange for missing out on those conversations, he gets a perk that few of Gen 1's cast has, the magical ability called Being Alive. he's stated to be guarding Leonster during the closing events of Gen 1, which safely places him outside of the hell that is the Yid Massacre and the Battle of Belhala. Granted, he's thrust into an entirely separate, yet potentially worse hell, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, he manages to live through Gen 1. At this point, this is where the events of Thracia 776 would chronologically take place, but I'm gonna finish looking over his character under the guise of FE4 first. Finn reappears in Chapter 7, where he actually gets a really cool story moment told entirely through gameplay, as he's defending Quan's son Leif and Lachesis' daughter Nana from Frege. The whole crux of Chapter 7 is Seliph has to rush through his battles to reinforce Finn, as he's fighting alongside two people who, while not exactly weak, are definitely not able to defend themselves well. The game could just tell you Finn is on the edge of the ropes, but you get to play it for yourself, and doing so helps you understand Finn and Leonster's struggle far more than any cutscene could. Granted, the difficulty of this varies heavily on how much you used Finn. If he's well trained, it can actually be way too easy. It's a cool idea nevertheless. The reintroduction of Leonster doesn't do too much for Finn. The scenes are mainly for Leif's characterization, which is the better move in the long run. Finn does have 3 unique conversations. If he is the father of Nana, Larce, or Lana, he will have a special talk with them in this chapter. Larce and Lana follow the same mold. They remind Finn of his wife, who he was separated from during the war, and it ends with the young women realizing Finn is their father, and that's where this conversation ends. I would have liked Finn's reaction to finding his long-lost daughter, and in Lana's case knowing his wife is alive, but I guess how Finn reacts to fighting with his children is just left up to fanfiction writers. His conversation with Nana is more so about Lachesis and her actions, so that doesn't have much for his character either. In my opinion, his conversations with his children are the lone shortcoming to him. I just wish him as a father was explored more in-game, but the game instead focuses on him being a knight and a father figure to Leif, and I guess that does work out in the long run. Because in Chapter 8, Leif has a talk with Finn about the future of Leonster and what Leif needs to do for the improvement of his land and his people. Leif starts spewing the traditional, "I'd sacrifice my life for our people" mumbo-jumbo, and Finn reprimands him, saying that throwing Leif's life away will accomplish roughly dick all. Finn being a fatherly mentor to Leif is one thing, but Leif also reveals to the player that Finn has been suffering pretty much ever since the end of the first generation, all for Leif. The main thing that Leif brings up is that Finn would go without food for days on end, starving himself so Nana and Leif had their own food in their stomachs, making it clear that just because Finn survived the first generation doesn't mean he had it easy. But very soon after this, things start to actually get better for him, as in Chapter 8, Finn comes across Altenna, the long-lost daughter of Quan and Ethelyn, thought to be dead for nearly 2 decades. And there she is, looking assuredly not dead. While Finn's role in recruiting Altenna basically just amounts to telling Leif to go talk to her, once she joins, she can reunite with him and the two share a very heartfelt conversation. "So you're Sir Finn then? Leif's told me about you already. I can't thank you enough for all you've done to protect him all these years." "Thank you, my lady, but it is I who owes you an apology. Not once in these past 17 years did I ever suspect that you lived on, let alone just across the border. My failure to search for you is inexcusable. Sir Finn, are those tears I see? Why are you crying?" My apologies, my lady. You shouldn't have to see me in a state such as this. Hold on a moment. I remember something. Yes, I was incredibly fond of you. And I always sought your attention, didn't I? That's right. Sir Finn. My lady, HP plus 3! This scene works because, for once in a genealogy character's goddamn life, They get a win in the end. Finn's been running, starving, and bleeding for years to protect Leif and Nana, and look what's happening to him now. Leonster, liberated. Leif and Altenna, reunited. And Seliph, he's on the verge of taking over not just Thracia, but the whole damn empire that started this mess. I mentioned in the Agren video that suffering in and of itself doesn't make a character interesting. It needs some kind of payoff, and this is it for Finn. Seeing him cry tears of joy here ties a nice little bow on his character. Finn doesn't do anything else in FE4, but he doesn't need to. The player understood his struggles and his triumph more than enough. We interrupt this video to give you a live look at the creator, FEMS Paint himself. Look at him. He's playing League of Legends. This is because he has no money and cannot afford games that aren't free, but you can help. With a donation to the FEMS Paint Patreon, you can help him get money so that he can play games that are better than League of Legends. Which is to say, any game other than League of Legends. That's right, for as little as $3 a month, you can help pitch into the FEMS Paint channel and get benefits like callouts on videos, or even polls to decide future videos that come up on the channel. Right now it's a poll between Fates and Awakening characters. And you know what? I haven't done one of those this year, so might as well get that out of the way now. You know, never too late. My patrons include the likes Adebayo Thompson, Andrew Crockett, Benz Again, Dr. McBackstab, Etz Elizabeth, Fire Emblem Lord, Follow Pen to the North Star on Twitch, Great Riek, Hell on Heelys, Jespacito 2, Keithan, Lightning Bolt, Nevrix the Tourmaline Project creator, Ryan Walter, Shen Lu, Space1255, Steph D, Tato, Tiny Squids, Your Girl Olwyn, Auntie Ginger, Brentendo11, Drew Hack, Goo Goo Gaga, Cornelia Milkers 92, Kazu Foxfire, Mathematicus, Max the Knife, and Upscale Furry Trash. Thank you all for your continued support, and I hope to see you pledging in the next video. Now let's get back to it. With Genealogy of the Holy War out of the way, it's time to talk about Thracia 776, where Finn plays a bizarrely small role in Leif and the game's narrative. Yeah, the story more so has Leif talk to August, which makes sense because August can't die, so he's always gonna be there. Unlike Finn, who can die in this game despite what that does to the space-time continuity. Not to say that he doesn't have any scenes, he does have a few sprinkled in here and there that we can look over and analyze, but before we do, I want to talk about a funny gameplay mechanic about his Brave Lance. Unlike in FE4, in FE5, Finn's Brave Lance is locked to him. You can't trade the weapon over to another Lance unit, like Xavier or someone, only Finn. Given its story relevance to him, that makes sense, but Thracia has plenty of weapons with similar ties that are allowed to be given to someone else. The Brave Bow is a gift from Glade to his wife Selphina, a gift given with the vow to protect what they hold dear, but you can totally give it to another bow unit, like Xavier or someone. The Brave Axe is a gift to Halvin, given from his sister to make sure he can come back home okay, but you can totally give it to another axe unit, like Xavier or someone. But Quan's love for Finn is apparently stronger than the bond of lovers or family, because Finn will not part ways with it. It's just funny to me. In the plot, Finn's first real scene comes at Chapter 7, where he reunites with Leif and Nana after the dreaded Manster escape incident. His conversation with Nana has him being a good dad, making sure she's okay and letting her know that he's always there for her. If she wants to talk about anything, he'll listen. Nana starts to want to say something, but she changes her mind, and Finn doesn't press the issue, respecting Nana and not forcing her to speak her mind when she doesn't want to. Given her outburst to him in FE4, it's highly likely she wants to talk about her mother Lachesis, but decides not to. It's a small scene of Finn looking to his daughter, nothing complex, but it works. Later on, though, Selphina is more than willing to chastise Finn about Lachesis, and it's now that I have to explain Finn's romantic life. It's commonly believed that Finn and Lachesis are canonically lovers, with Nana being she and Finn's daughter. The issue is Darmuid can't be Finn's son. He wields the Beo sword, a weapon only wieldable by the men of Beowulf's bloodline, making him Beowulf and Lachesis' son. Ignoring the question of why the fuck Beowulf's bloodline is important enough for a sword, Nanna can't wield the sword, meaning she can't be Beowulf's daughter. Given that she refers to Finn as her dad, it seems like Lachesis and Diarmuid was with Beowulf. She then fled to Leonster after Arvis engaged in a mild amount of tomfoolery, and then had Nanna with Finn. Even that explanation isn't perfect, but it's what we'll be assuming is true moving forward. If you have a complaint, I don't know, go hunt down Kaga in Japan or something. Back to Selfina, she criticizes Finn for letting Lachesis leave Leonster. She had left years prior to the game's events to find her son. Finn chose to let her leave, sending her off on her own because his vows to Leonster and Leif were too strong, and he looks after their daughter in her absence. However, we know thanks to FE4 that Lachesis vanishes after this, never to return, and Selfina puts the blame on Finn, saying he should have left with her. Finn understands Selfina's frustration, but manages to calm her down and says to talk about it later, and this scene gives us another glimpse into what Finn had to do. Because consider Finn's perspective here. Does he choose between the love of his life, or the vows he made to his king and to his country? We know that the decision wasn't made without regrets, as his ending in Thracia has him searching for Lachesis for 3 years, only to come up with nothing. This tragedy with Lachesis adds a spice of tragic lovers to Finn's character. As I've said many a time before, people consume that shit like crack. It is a very well-loved trope. And on top of that, it gives Finn a sacrifice that more easily resonates with the player. Sure, his starvation and always being on the run is a genuine ordeal, but losing Lachesis is something the player can feel because they used her in FE4. So knowing Finn had to sacrifice helping her helps the player further understand his strife, and in turn, the satisfaction when it all pays off for him towards the end of FE4. Finn's a character that's defined more by his actions than his personality and character. What's there isn't bad, but the loyal knight thing isn't anything new. But knowing what he went through, knowing how much he had to fight, to the point that he arrived in Fianna at death's door with only 2 little children to support him, you feel for him. And his suffering is directly proportionate to his success. Seeing his dream fulfilled can give a person hope that their own struggles can pay off someday, no matter how fruitless it might seem in the moment. You can make a legitimate claim that of all the loyal knights in the series, Seth, Catherine, Marcus, etc., that Finn's story stands as the greatest of them all, that he is the Fire Emblem Knight. And you know what? I think I would agree with them. Finn is 50% knight, 50% dad, 100% legendary. I would like to thank all of you for making it to the end of another character analysis video. Finn's a great dude, and I hope I did him justice for all of his fans. As always, I would like to thank the Green Brigand for his support, looking over the script, and making sure I don't do anything too crazy or too stupid. Love ya, buddy. Thanks again. If you enjoyed the video, consider joining the Discord server. Links in the description, and you're looking at some stuff from it right now. We have a good time over there. And while you're at it, please like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, give the Patreon a consideration, and seriously, read Chainsaw Man. That shit's really good. All like 100 chapters I read in a single day. That shit's pacing immaculate. Until next time.
Change the world. My final message.